Today I'm making milk kefir from Kefir Grains. I started making kefir at home because it got too expensive buying it from the grocery store. And I also wanted the extra health benefits from kefir made from Kefir Grains. If you're making 2 to 3 cups of milk kefir every day from Kefir Grains, you need 2 3-quart size glass jars, a 4-cup Pyrex measuring cup to collect the kefir, and a 5.5-inch nylon mesh strainer that fits on the measuring cup used to strain out the kefir grains, a spatula, and at least 3 cloth covers that allow air into the jar but don't let bugs or dust get in. The kefir is ready to be strained when the kefir grains are floating on top, with airspace in between, ideally around 24 hours, so it'll be easy to remember when to strain your kefir. I also like to see some air gaps at the bottom of the jar, which tell me that the kefir is getting thick. The grains look like cauliflower, rice, or cottage cheese. I pour half of the kefir into the strainer. Using the spatula, press the kefir grains against the strainer. The thick kefir should come out the other side of the strainer while the kefir grains remain in the strainer. Keep on pressing and stirring the kefir grain until the grains look less fluffy, as most of the kefir has been filtered through the strainer. Use the spatula to scrape the bottom of the strainer to collect the kefir into the measuring cup. The grains will appear less fluffy as the kefir is collected in the measuring cup. Keep on going until the kefir grains look drier and not much more kefir is coming out on the other side. You may ask, why strain the grains? Wouldn't it be simpler and faster if I just scooped the kefir grains out every day? Well, one problem with not straining the grains is inconsistency. When the kefir grains are not strained, you could be transferring a lot more microbes from the solid kefir grains and the liquid kefir around the grains. This will lead to over-fermented kefir the next day. On the other hand, if you do strain the grains, you have a better gauge of how many microbes you're starting off with. This will lead to more consistent texture and flavor of the kefir. When most of the kefir is collected in the measuring cup, the kefir grains will look much drier, as you can see here. You can transfer the kefir grains into a clean glass jar. Then finish straining the rest of the kefir. Combine the kefir grains together. The kefir is usually thicker than milk and creamy. After all the kefir has been filtered out, pour it back into the jar that the kefir was culturing in. The kefir can be drunk right away, but it seems to taste better after refrigerating. I usually let it refrigerate overnight. Just cap the jar, and I like to put the date on the jar with a Sharpie. Next, add milk to the kefir grains. I've read a lot of information about making kefir with pasteurized milk and not ultra-pasteurized milk. My thinking is that ultra-pasteurized milk may not have the correct food for the kefir microbes, so I've been sticking with pasteurized milk. Also, any fat-free 1%, 2%, or whole milk works fine, but do not use lactose-free milk, as the kefir microbes need to eat lactose from milk. Add the same amount of milk as the day before and give the kefir grains and milk a good stir. You won't need to stir it again. Cover the jar with a cloth lid. I sewed this myself so that the kefir can breathe, but dust or bugs can't get in. Then leave it in a cool spot indoors for about 24 hours. I put a tray underneath to collect any condensation from the jar. It's hard to get the plain kefir to taste the same every day, so I like to flavor my kefir by blending it with frozen mango. Add half a cup to 1 cup of frozen mango, then 3 cups of kefir. Blend it on high for about 10 seconds or until all the mango chunks are blended. There you have it, delicious homemade mango kefir. Hope you enjoy!